Hey, we're back. We're so excited to be back, and we're excited for the episode that we have for you here today. However, this is a little disclaimer. If you're listening with little ears, we do use some biological terms as we talk today with our topic of feminism, and we talk about some tough stuff going on in the world. So we just wanted to be upfront and honest that there are some words that are used. No curse words. However, if you're listening with little ears, you may want to be mindful. But we're so excited to be back, and we hope you like this episode. And here we go. Alrighty, welcome back to season 2, episode 1 of the Talkshack. I know, Trey's excited over here. As you can tell, I am not Seth, and nor is Seth here. However, we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been up to, what the future of the podcast looks like, and then we're going to dive into some content. Some cool things we got on the docket today. We got a couple people here with us, though. Say hi, Brittany.
Hello.
Hey, Brittany.
Hi.
And Trey's here as well.
Hey, guys. Good to be back.
That's good to be. And then Trevor's coming out of left field.
Woo.
Oh, yeah.
They still won't give me a mic, but I'm going to work my way up. Don't worry about it.
It's all right. We can share for now.
It's not in the budget currently, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. So we're going to talk a little bit about feminism. We're going to talk a little bit about some recent travesties in the news, and then as well as today's St. Patty's Day. And then we're going to talk a little about like culture and cultural appropriation, and then we're just going to wrap up and talk about just what the future looks like for us and where we're at. So tell them what we've been up to, Trey.
I mean, we've taken a lot of time off. It's been a while. We really did intend to keep it going after the election, and over winter break, it just ended up not happening. We were in different places, had a lot of stuff going on. It's just, despite the best intentions, not always easy to keep up with that stuff. It can be a lot of work, especially doing school, working, sports, all that. So,
yeah, of course.
It can be tricky.
Yeah, so Seth ended up actually getting a job, and he's working full time now, so he's not actually here at school with us. And then I am a senior and getting ready to graduate, and Trey is super busy with track and stuff. So we've been very busy. Plus the whole election thing kind of just transitioned us. It was a good time to kind of take a little bit of a break. But we're coming back strong. We got Brittany with us here for the first
Yes.
episode back. And then so future, what we'd like to do is we'd like to get you guys a little bit more connected with us. We'd like to actually bring on some people that kind of have maybe an expertise in some areas, or maybe just have some cool thoughts that they'd like to share. Just get out there, get out onto a platform. Today we have our special guest is Brittany. Brittany, tell us.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself just a little bit, and then talk about what you want to talk about.
Well, I don't know what's important or what you want to know.
So, yeah, Kate mentioned that we're going to try to get people on to talk about specific subjects and
Okay.
areas that we might not have a lot of knowledge or expertise, but you might. So, go ahead.
Yep, I'm a senior here, like you, Kate. I'm going to graduate in May. I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. And I guess today I will be talking about feminism because I have the knowledge of being a girl.
Hey, we do not have that knowledge.
So I would say that maybe like I used to be a feminist, like in 2016 when like every high schooler is a feminist, an overgeneralization at much. But then my political views and everything started to shift after the 2016 election because I guess first of all, I was raised in a conservative household, and yeah, those views were put onto me. But then when I went to public high school, all my teachers were very liberal, all my friends were very liberal, so I thought I was liberal, and I was just kind of told to think that way. And then I saw the 2016 election, and thank God I couldn't vote because I was going to vote for Hillary, and I didn't. or like I couldn't. And I was like really surprised that Trump won. So that's when I really started to do my own research and be like, oh, I guess my parents weren't wrong. And I guess these people were right. Like, what is going on? And my worldview just kind of kept getting shattered, and it continues to get shattered. And yeah, I actually just recently would identify too as like kind of a pro-life person. Like I used to be pro-choice like maybe a year ago even. So it just keeps, facts just keep coming and things just keep coming out that I'm like, dang. Yeah, the more you learn.
Tell us about feminism. Tell us. I think most people would recognize there's multiple waves of feminism, and there's a lot of. It's a deep subject. It's not just.
Right.
Tell us your experiences as a woman. Tell us what you'd like to talk about today.
Yeah, so first of all, you just mentioned like the waves of feminism, and it's not it's not like new news or anything that like feminism is in the headlines. We can look back to the 19th Amendment when women were granted the voting right, and specifically, actually, only white women could vote, and then that later changed in the 1920s to all women. So that was like the first feminist wave. And then we see the next wave of feminism was really during like the sexual revolution in the 60s. That's also like during the, no, not the Stonewall riots. Were the Stonewall riots, those were in the 90s. Or those were in the 70s. They were sometime.
I don't know. Trail fact checked you on that one.
Fact check me.
I think we got Trevor on that.
All right.
For some reason, I merged like the Stonewall riots and the 60s sexual revolution. I merged them together. But anyways, that was like the second wave, and now we're kind of getting out of this third wave. But the third wave can be identified as like the Me Too movement and rape awareness. Are you getting a fact check? Okay, when was the Stonewall riots?
Stonewall riots happened between June 28th, 1969 to July 3rd, 1969.
There we go.
For you folks at home.
Still
You're welcome.
the 60s,
There you go.
technically.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor, for the facts.
So I just wanted to elaborate on the wave we're at now. So a hot topic, like I want to say like maybe 3 years ago or 5 years ago, was the gender wage gap. And when I don't have a lot of research in this. There's a lot of scholarly articles that you can look at. But the one conclusion that I came to is that the government does not necessarily determine pay. It determines the minimum wage, and there in itself shows gender equality, because no matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter your religion, you have the federal minimum wage you must be paid. So then the gender wage gap, I think it was like 86 cents to the dollar that corporations pay for women. And when I did my research and I was looking at that, it just said just women and men, that's what they get paid. It gave no facts to, well, are the women working full time? How long have they been there? Like, Cade, you and I are both business majors. You know there's, and I think someone took the HR class with me. And Trey, you're a business major.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah. Everyone would Trev.
But there's a lot of factors that go into pay, and one of them is not gender. Now, there is something that women can do that men can't do, and that is give birth and have a child.
Yeah, I would hope.
And now we're going to transition into that the government, what they say. And there's actually a mandatory maternity leave under federal law for women who have either given birth or adopted a child, which I thought was pretty cool, adopted a child within, I think, 90 days I think it's 90 days.
Yeah.
And I scoured the internet for a mandatory fraternity leave, but there is none.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of places do actually offer that,
Right,
but
but-
again, men typically don't take it.
And
But
it's not
that's not-
mandatory either.
No.
yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's
Yeah.
not federal. So I would argue that like in my household, like it's going to be a team effort. It's not just going to be me.
Yeah.
So I would see that as gender discrimination on the male part. You know what I mean? to continue off of like the government, there's also more tax credits for women-owned businesses, and there's tax credits for women who, there's tax credits also for children, and there's even more tax credits for Black, Indigenous, people of color women. And I know this specifically because I have a family business, but my family works in a family business, and they have the woman's name on paper because they get more tax credits. Even though the man is like more involved in like the decision making and everything, on paper she's the 51% owner.
That's funny.
And that's like,
Yeah.
I think that's gender discrimination. Now, does it help? Yes, absolutely. But
Yeah.
if we're gonna call it what it is, discrimination is discrimination.
Yeah. And I think so often we talk about like discrimination, we talk about, against minorities, but some of the times we've gone to the point of taking that too far, and now we've discriminated against those of a majority. Everybody hates the white, straight, cis male. And
We hate them.
Yeah, and my little sister goes to a university I won't mention, but she called me up one day and said, "Cade, you are the scum of the earth." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I just had a gender studies class where we talked about, how the cis white male is like the downfall of society. If you're a Christian, it's even worse. Like, it gets worse and worse. I'm conservative. I'm like the worst person there is.
Right.
And I think that's again, discrimination and.
But why? Why are you just the worst?
I mean, I think we just take equality too far, right? We look at these past wrongs in the case of like minorities, of women, and we try so hard to correct it to the point where we're doing the opposite. So, obviously we're not going to be exactly where we should be as a society. There's things that have happened in the past that we should be working to make right. Mm-hmm. But after they get to a certain point, anything you do beyond that is having a negative effect.
Starts going in the opposite direction.
Exactly, yeah. And that's just the way things work.
You start pushing against yourself a little bit too. But.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to mention that, like, I like these tax credits, and, maybe they are discriminatory, but I like them because I'm just saying I would hate to be a woman working in, like, the 70s or the 80s. I think it would suck. But I wouldn't say that it's really happening anymore. I have so many opportunities, and I would argue that I even have more opportunities being a woman.
Yeah, there's a...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say a lot of places now have like that minority minimal sign on that they need to have a certain amount of minorities, whether that be women or people of color or whatever that may be. They need to have that in order to meet a certain quota almost. I know my grandfather. Now he's a bit older, and he used to work for a government position, and he got passed up by someone of a much lower qualification, much more lower rank. He was like ranked second in the training and everything he had done for a position, and he got passed up by like somebody like 300 because they were a person of a minority person. It's and again, like what Trey said, we've started to go too far in the other direction. Oh, then that's not to say that, like you said, people have struggled in the past, and that's not to display or discredit any of that. I'm wondering, putting it out there, maybe we've gone too far in one direction, or are starting to take steps that are not healthy to the society or healthy to moving us forward as a whole.
I mean, honestly, like federally, I think we're good. I think we're pretty good on like women equality and everything, and women have the most STEM jobs. They have the most scholarships. And then if you're a person of color, I mean, man, you have some really good opportunities. Is there anything you wanted to say on that? All right.
No, I
then
mean,
moving right
I feel
along.
like you're covering it pretty well.
No, you did good.
So now, I feel like that kind of went towards the second wave of feminism. Now we're in this like rape awareness and Me Too movement, and that's a very real. Like, you have to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, you gentlemen, maybe not, I don't know. You never have to worry about really like your surroundings. Like, do you know like certain defense mechanisms of like putting your keys in your fist and making sure you're not wearing a ponytail in a parking garage or making sure you lock your doors right away. Now, you might think that, like, yeah, I don't want to get robbed. I'm thinking I don't want to get raped because that's a very real threat. Okay.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
I definitely, I definitely
No, we were
wouldn't
just
disagree with
letting
you on
finish
that.
Yeah.
Your topic.
But again, that's
So-
just like situational awareness, and for the most part, I guess guys don't typically worry about that like as much.
No.
But
Right.
again, depending on where you're
I
at,
mean, if
like,
you're a white
everyone
cis
has to look out
male,
for their own
you
safety.
better watch out.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely some places I wouldn't feel safe.
Yeah, and I say this too, like all the time when I talk about like the area in which we're at right now. When I walk down the street, I really don't have to worry. Now, granted, if somebody wants to kidnap me, they're gonna have to work for it. I'm a big dude, and I'm gonna throw a punch as best I can. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but if
Yeah.
somebody tries to kidnap me, they're gonna have to work for it. But like. I do. Like, I never grew up having that concern because I would think I'm a male. So, I don't want to display, like, that culture. And I think that culture is very much bad. I don't think that culture will ever go away, however. I think there will always be crappy people in every single culture.
Can I speak on that a little bit?
Go
I
ahead,
wanted
yeah.
to go into that, and I'm saying, like, the Me Too movement did expose what is truly going on. And yes, I have, like, had sexual harassment in the workplace, and I've said some things too that could qualify as sexual harassment, and I witnessed a female sexually harass a coworker too, and nothing was done about that.
Yeah, it goes
And-
both ways for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But that's very real. But that's never going to go away, and it's only going to get worse too, because women have, like, taken our sexuality and they have just exploded it into, like, this whole wave of, like, like, in order to be a feminist, in order to be a woman, you have to be sexy, you have to be promiscuous, you have to shake your butt, and you have to do all these things that objectify you. And I don't care who's doing the objectification. If you're a girl, you can objectify other girls. If you're a guy, you can objectify girls. Like, objectification happens without regards to gender. And just to draw on some current, like, pop culture moments was, like, I know I'm going to say it, it was, like, Cardi B in the Grammys, and Candace Owens, like, went at her.
Yeah.
And this current wave of feminism that we're in, it's kind of drifted away towards rape awareness, but it's drifted more towards, like, sexuality and just our sexual beings. And it's this whole new wave of women must become equal to men. So men are typically, like, sex driven. They like casual sex and, like, all these other things. And now women are saying we have to be equal to that, or not, maybe not even equal, but better. And that brings in the wave of women are better than men, which is not traditionally feminist. First of all, it's not right. No one's better than anybody else. You know what I mean? In, like, a discriminatory perspective. And yeah, so I think feminism now is just women being manipulated by their sexuality. And does anyone want to speak to that? I feel like you guys are just listening.
I completely.
It's freaking me out.
We do have you on to get your perspective.
Yeah, we
like,
do.
I know.
You have insights that
Yes,
we don't.
that's
But
true.
I do think you brought up a great point. It's kind of like the opposite of what it was originally intended to be, right?
Exactly.
So, like, women were being viewed as objects, and that's a negative.
Right.
So we went about trying to change that. Like, that's not what we want. And then it's gotten to the point where, like, now that's a positive.
Right.
Again, back to, like, Cardi B and the Grammys and, like, her music videos, like, it does the complete opposite of what was set out to do.
It does.
So let me ask you this as a question then, as a woman, do you feel like that this fourth wave has kind of not increased, but has like brought us to, like, has it made the rape problem worse? Like, like, everything I hear from the feminist movement is, you know, what you're saying exactly, like, you know, we got to shake your butt kind of deal.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it, they're like, men are evil, men are terrible people.
Right.
And it's like, does Cardi B in the Grammys getting up there and basically lesbian soft porn, does that make guys, like, does that make the problem worse?
I mean, so as a perspective as a guy, maybe I shouldn't say that. I was just saying, like, of course men are going to cheer you on when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's freaking, like, yeah. So I think that actually so first of all, I'm, like, more traditional.
Yeah.
So first of all, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a mom or a mother. There's nothing wrong with wanting to run a Fortune 500 company. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do fashion or paint nails or whatever. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, like, what's happening right now is feminism is this one size fits all, you have to be this way to be feminist. And that's
Yeah.
not feminism. We're not exalting women anymore. We're exalting our vaginas and our ovaries and all these other things. And I just want to touch on that's so funny in the liberal agenda because ovaries and vaginas don't determine a gender, what you think determines a gender.
Yeah.
So everything is very inconsistent. And
But talk about the consistency that you found. That's a great segue.
what do you mean, the consistency I found?
The turfs thing?
The turfs thing.
Oh, my word, yeah, that was... But anyway, I think this all stems back to gender and the deconstruction of that. But yeah,
for sure.
TERFs, oh my word. So
Explain what they
TERFs
are.
are trans exclusionary radical feminist. And they are radical feminists who are emerging from the merging of transgender people, specifically biological males, entering into women's sports.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily agree with like the radical feminist part, but they admit, yes, there's two genders. Yes, this one is biologically stronger, and women need to be able to compete in their sports without a biological man in the mix. There
Yeah.
truly is no competition there.
Yeah.
And I support that because that's consistent. Because without trans exclusionary, just radical feminists say, oh, you want to be, you feel like you were born in the wrong body. Okay, you can be a woman now, and you have a penis, and you can be a woman. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not how it works. If you're going to dress up as vaginas and wear ovaries on your back, that is not consistent whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there can't be feminism if anyone can be female.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't even get me started, but the harm that does to women is really outstanding. But yeah, one highlight I wanted to touch on quick is that the Violence Against Women Act just got renewed in the House of Representatives in Congress, so that's cool. It gives like federal protections against women who have been victims of violence. Yeah. So just wanted to say that like women have come a long, long, long way in America. And it's really sad to see how we are not giving credit to these women who are professional or their moms, and we're simply giving the media attention to someone like Cardi B who just shakes her butt on camera. And that's really like sad for me because I feel like if I don't portray their agenda, then I have no credit as a woman.
Yeah.
And that's not true. Women can be whatever they want to be, you know, maybe not men, but women can be whatever they want to be.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And we were talking about this before the show. Candace Owens.
Yeah.
And just the fact that she is a person of color.
Right.
She is a woman.
Right.
And she has been suppressed by the left who claim to, project the voices of women and people of color. And she's been put down by a lot of those people. And I just think it's funny it's not like you were saying earlier, it's not a
One size fits all?
yeah, it's not even a thing. It's not even a gender or a race thing. It's a political thing. It's an agenda thing. Yeah.
Everything is politicized when it doesn't have to be, because in reality, I do agree with some of the more traditional feminist ideologies. However, if I say that, I'm immediately labeled a liberal, which is not true whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
And I read one article too that it's like, why aren't radical feminists confronting the Islam religion? Or why do they not care about Muslim women? And that's because Muslim women do not fit the agenda. And that's really sad. Like, be consistent. If you want to say, dude, all women everywhere, like, lift each other up, then you need to say that about religions that maybe don't necessarily agree with your I'm a better than a man theology.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you touched on a lot there, and I appreciate everything you just said. I want to go back to your trans exclusionary radical feminist quickly.
My girls.
I think, yeah, yeah. I think it's really cool. I've actually written 3 papers now in the last 2 weeks about this whole Equality Act. It's been. I know we didn't really hit on it before the show in our prep and stuff like that. But Trey or Brittany, do you guys have any thoughts on that, or anything you want to bring out or highlight? If not, that's completely fine. I personally think it's very much detrimental to women, not only in sports. A lot of times we talk about this in sports and how it's going to affect women's sports, but it affects everything. There was on the news, it was a Target I saw the other day, and there was a man who was waiting inside the bathroom, in the women's bathroom, for a woman to walk in, and he raped her. And it's really hard to hear. It's a terrible thing that happened, but I think we are opening Pandora's box with this Equality Act in that direction. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was saying the Equality Act, I was just going to say something. It's on the tip of my tongue, and it escaped my mind. But I think specifically, like, in regards to my religion, the Equality Act undermines that, and that's the first Bill of Rights in the Constitution of America. It's the framework of our nation, and if you dismantle that, you're dismantling everything, and that's really, it's really sad to hear that people who are saying there is no truth are assigning everyone to the same truth. And I think it would be detrimental to women as well, because although I understand that people truly do suffer from gender dysphoria, there are also people, this is what I wanted to say. Yeah. There are people who don't suffer from gender dysphoria and who are truly bad people who want to take advantage of others. And I think one thing with the liberal ideology that I just can't get behind is how they assume that people are inherently good. And if you just change their environment, then there will be a utopia. And time again, history has proved that that is not true. Utopias do not exist. And I think the Equality Act is just one step in the liberal ideology that says, if we just change your environment, then you're going to be okay. Yeah. But you and we see that, like, people are actually, like, inherently bad, and we have laws in place. That's why we have 2 bathrooms, to give women protection and to give men protection as well. Like, I don't know what goes on, but something else the Equality Act really does that just really gets under my skin is if, like, volunteer and nonprofit organizations, for example, women's shelters, if a biological man comes in to a rape shelter and says, I identify as a woman, they can't turn him away. Yeah. A man with a penis coming in, I feel like we have to simplify terms for people.
Yeah, okay. A biological man.
Someone with a penis can come into a rape center. Do you know how much trauma that is going to put on a rape victim? Yeah. That's insane. I don't, and that's the inconsistency. It says we're for women, but really you're not. And yeah, it's just, and once again, this is also could be considered. I know some people might give me backlash and say, oh, you're just fear-mongering, because truly transgender adults account for 0.8 of the population. So, no, that's also a lot of people. It's like 3 million. So, yeah, I just really hope that doesn't get passed.
You're good. All right, so we're running out of time here. Really? We're going to wrap up this podcast, and then we're going to actually release a second one here in the next couple days as well, just like kind of a back-to-back coming back action that we got going on here. We'll talk about some other things, some recent terrible things that have happened in the news, and then as well just some cool St. Paddy's Day stuff and stuff like that. We'll release that here hopefully shortly. But thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you, and thank you very much. Bye.